Eric Horn here, Andscape senior editor, here with Andscape senior NBA writer Marc Spears and columnist Bill Rhoden, and we're talking about Draymond Green once again. Tuesday night, Draymond Green was ejected from his third game of the season for turning around and hitting Yusuf Nurkic with a swing of his arm. He received a flagrant two foul. This comes weeks after Draymond was ejected for a chokehold on Rudy Gobert. Basically, we wanted to get into, Bill, what do you make of Draymond's latest ejection, and what do you see, coming down as far as discipline?
Yeah, hey, Eric. Hey, Mark. Yeah, Eric, you know how I feel about this guy. When we were watching him choke Gobert, was it last month? I said, man, get this guy out the league, man. Throw this guy out the league, at least for a year. When they handed down that suspension last time, I said, man, it's not enough. This guy should be gone for the year. And then this thing when he slugs Nurkic, clearly whatever they did last month wasn't enough. And get it, I get it. This is show business. He's probably good for the NBA. They kind of like that stuff. And that's the atmosphere that we're in, where the more ridiculous you are, the more people, the more you go viral. And going viral almost insulates you from any kind of punishment because it's good for business. But just on a moral level, get this guy out of the league, man. I think that's the only thing he'll understand. And when I say throw him out the league, I'm not saying permanent, but he should be gone for the rest of this season because clearly that's the only thing that he will listen to. Clearly, and I know Mark, you know him. I've only had dealings with him a couple times. Off the court, Draymond is intellect. He's smart. He's charming. We're not talking about that. We're talking about in the office, in the building. So anyway, that's my stake, man. Get this cat out the damn league. Get him out the league for the rest of this year and let him stew on it. Period.
Man, the rest of the season? Wow.
Mark, just anything short of that,
this is
Mark.
Kermit Washington. This is Meta World Peace. This is Malice in the Palace.
Yeah, well, this is 2023. That was then. This is now, and clearly, Draymond and Mark, come on, man. You got your PhD in the NBA. You are a Hall of Fame, and you know him and all that. Tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me that this guy, nothing matters to this guy. Clearly, if you could choke somebody on national television, and the NBA says, okay, you get 5 games, all that does is empower and encourage Draymond to go to the next level. So anyway, that's my piece, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Out.
All right.
Now, before we get to you, Mark, one of the things that stood out to me about what Draymond did last night after the ejection, he talked about it was, there was transparency immediately about talking about what he was doing. He even admitted to the selling. Like he was saying, I sell calls with my arm. So he was admitting to flopping and selling. But then he was admitting to, like, I'm not the one to apologize usually for things I mean to do, but I apologize to Nurkic because he didn't intend to hit him. But to kind of go to Bill's point before we get to what you're gonna say, Mark, I'm just not sure how much of Draymond's explanation does any good when he has the body of evidence he has, and that's part of the problem I think that he faces and that the league faces with bringing down discipline. But are you surprised by how this has gone down, Mark, and what's going to be the process going forward for the league to determine what happens next to him?
Well, I'm sure the Warriors are very disappointed because right now they need him on the floor. They have no margin for error right now. They're having all these tough losses. If you go look at what the Warriors have been doing lately, it's not like they're getting blown out. They're having these close losses, and not having Draymond on the floor has contributed to these tough losses. And so I think they've grown tired and weary of it. The NBA has grown tired or weary of it. And when you think about David Stern, right? And I remember when he was commissioner, he gave Melo, I believe, 15 to 17 games when he punched Marty Collins. So to me, this is a different day. Adam Silver is a different, disciplinarian. Obviously, this is Joe Dumars' job. I just saw him at the in-season tournament, and he's known Draymond since he was a teenager. He was actually one of Draymond's mentors. If they gave him 5 games for choking Gobert, I can't see them giving him more than 10 games for this action this time, because I do think the previous action was more severe. To choke somebody, to put somebody in a chokehold was certainly more severe than, I guess, to put 5 fingers to the face, as Rick James, was comedically said. So I do see him getting a suspension. I'd be surprised if it was more than 10. To be honest, not because it's my opinion. I think it's just based on what I see from the NBA today. If it was Stern, I think it would be a lot more stronger a punishment. But when you give somebody 5 games for a chokehold, I can't see it being an end of a season deal. This is a new day in the NBA. But I think what also happens now is I do believe that the referees have certainly given Draymond some leeway. I don't think there's any question that he can complain harder than any player in the league. He probably gets away with more than any player in the league in terms of giving the refs a hard time and needling them. And I think now I wouldn't be surprised if the refs are like, we don't want to hear anything. That we want to stop this from the beginning and start issuing him texts earlier. So he's made this bed that he's going to have to lie in. And I do see perhaps even maybe Adam Silver asking him to come to New York, sit down with him in his office and talk to him about this, because it's definitely not good for the league.
Yeah, but I don't think any of that matters, Mark. And again, we're not talking about, you mentioned correctly, Kermit Washington, the mouse in the palace, those kind of things. But in each case, Kermit Washington was one of the mildest guys in the NBA. I mean, he never did anything like that. That was a one-off. Draymond has been doing this going all the way back to, when was it, Eric? Back when he got,
he didn't break nobody's eye socket.
Huh?
He didn't break his eye socket.
Well, no, but it was one time.
So
are we waiting? So are we waiting for him?
He fractured Rudy Tomjanovich's face.
Yeah, and it was a one time, and he paid the price. And he paid the price, right? Yeah. He paid a severe price for that one incident, right? Draymond has not really paid a price. He's kept doing this every single year, and it's become part of his shtick. That's what I'm saying. We've had the same conversation, right? I'm sure if you go back to us, we've had the same conversation after each atrocity. He's done it. And again, I'm just saying, I know this is show business. Like the NBA is kind of like WWE, like with Haystack Calhoun. This is all part of it. And Draymond is a valuable part of show business. I get it. They don't. He's valuable to the NCAA. To the NBA. When he does this kind of stuff, I'm sure Adam may recoil, but at the same time, we're all talking about it, and it goes viral. So if you really are serious about it, if you're serious, you know what, this has got to stop. And the show is going to stop. We don't want to see you again until next season. I know everybody says, "Oh man, you can't do that." And if David Stern, God bless him, if David Stern were here, you've seen him, Mark, even in terms of how players deal with certain refs. Certain refs, you don't even deal with, because that they've got short fuses and they'll throw you out. Draymond understands that he's got a huge, huge breath. So and just one last thing I'll say. I thought it was interesting that it's going to the NFL. You saw what's the name? I'm blanking on his name. Quarterback for the for Kansas City.
Mahomes
went off, right? He went off, and 2 days later he was apologizing. He was like, listen, I'm sorry I went off. I know kids are watching me. This isn't a good, I don't know if we've ever heard that kind of stuff for Draymond. So what have we seen him do? He's knocked out Jordan Poole. He's done a chokehold. Now I guarantee you, I will bet you dinner, Mark. I don't know if I could afford taking you out to dinner, but I'll bet you dinner.
I don't know, that dashiki you got on look real expensive right now, man. I don't know. I think you can afford it.
I'm setting the tone with Mandela in the back of me. I'm saying, Draymond, brother, you represent more than just yourself. Anyway.
Yeah. No, and I'm with you on that, man. He's such a valuable player. He's gonna be like Mutombo and Ben Wallace and Rodman and get into the Hall of Fame at some point for his defensive play. You just don't need this, man. Like, you could be fiery without being fiery, and I do think that there will be some ramifications this time that are going to hurt. And I do think there's going to be some ramifications from the rest where maybe the rope that he got before, or the rope that he got before is non-existent anymore. And then there's the Warriors part. I mean, I remember being in the press conference room and Steve Kerr basically saying he's had enough, I will say Draymond was apologetic yesterday. He apologized and said he was wrong, which was different. He doesn't give the apology that it's a kumbaya apology, but it was apology nonetheless by him. So I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but I don't see an end of the season thing, but I do see something where the NBA will make him hurt, the Warriors hurt, and make him reflect even more. And basically, I think this gets to the point where it's above Joe Dumars, and Adam Silver gets involved with this, because it's it's not good for the league, and it's not good for the Warriors, and and I do wonder at some point that Steph Curry and Clay say something too, because I think Steph, it's really hard to determine how much of a leader Steph is. He's so great in everything he does. To me, he's the greatest NBA player pound for pound that we've ever seen.
Steph may be afraid for Draymond to knock him out.
Well, I mean, I think at some point, like, Steph is kind of a mild-mannered guy, and I don't know what he's saying behind the scenes, but if Steph tells you, like, this needs to stop, I think it hits harder, and I'm sure it's at a point now where Steph probably will get more involved in it.
Mark, I love you, brother. You don't think he said this before? You don't think?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that he
enough?
has, because and that's being not trying to be hate on Steph or nothing like that. I don't know that he has. Draymond has a really, really strong personality that can certainly be intimidating. And Steph is a mild-mannered guy. So maybe he has. Has he really said it strongly? I don't know. I don't know. I what, to be fair, I can't answer that question. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. But I'm really curious to see how Steph feels about this and how he feels about things going forward, because he is the franchise. This is his window. And this is his legacy that's, attached to it as well.
Yeah. Well, all I can say as we get out of here, I guarantee you, Mark, we're going to
Draymond better be glad you're not the commissioner now. He'd be out.
Yeah, no, he would be out. And I mean, I've taught classes. I've taught, you've taught. I've taught. And there's some kids in your class that the only thing they will listen to is extreme action when they know that they're done for the semester. You're out of my class until further notice because you are disrupting it. But I get it. I want to emphasize, I understand this is show business. This is part of his act. This is part of his shtick. And you know him, Mark. You've known Draymond for a long, long, long time. And you've known him off the field, off the court. So clearly I'm just reacting from
totally
what I
different
see.
dude.
Yeah, right.
That's the interesting thing. I mean, I've sat next to him, and he's a nerd with glasses on, drinking wine.
Right.
With the highest of basketball IQs watching the game. So no, it's one of those moments now where it's an intervention moment time. It has to be better. It has to change.
Right. I'd have
he's just too good of a player for it. Like, it's time for it to change.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Like I said, dinner on me if we don't have this conversation again in the rest of the season. I guarantee you, we will be back here.
No, I'm gonna go on a limb and say we won't.
Okay. All right, cool. There we have.
And then come NBA draft week, we'll go to our little jazz spot.
That's right.
And the loser will get dinner.
Dinner on me at the Blue Note if we don't have this conversation.
There we go.
But I guarantee you, we will.
And then I got it. I'll even throw some wine in.
with Draymond choosing the wine.
No, that's a $500,000 bottle right there, man. I'll get something more reasonable.